For the second straight year, the sport's very best are in Latham, New York. It's the Pro Motors Tour on ESPN. Today's 8 finalists have won a combined 52 titles. Our tournament leader, making his 10th career TV appearance, the Chief, Brian Himmler. In the number 2 spot, he has been red hot. He won 3 weeks ago in Las Vegas. Ryan Shafer. Qualifying number 3, winner of 24 titles, including 6 majors, electrifying Pete Weber. In the number 4 position, a 20-time titleist, former Player of the Year, Brian Voss. Our 5th-seeded qualifier, looking for his 3rd title from Wichita, Kansas, Rick Steelsmith. In our opening 3-player shootout, 6th seed Jason Hurd, making his 2nd straight TV appearance, will go up against 7th seed Steve Wilson, gunning for his 3rd overall PBA title. Our final qualifier, he hasn't won since 1992, Jeff Lizzi. We're at the Bowlers Club in Latham, New York. Today, it's the Parker Bohn III Empire State Open. Hi, everyone. I'm Phil Ferguson, along with my broadcast partner up in the booth, Marshall Holman. And Marshall, you take a look at this outstanding field. 6 of the 8 players making at least their 2nd TV appearance this year. Ryan Shafer, his 3rd, but our first match, Jason Hurd, Rick Steelsmith, Jeff Lizzi.
Well, I'll tell you, what I'm expecting is the lanes to be transitioning a lot of changes. 8 right-handers today, 6 of them power players. So you can look for the lanes to be hooking more and more as the day progresses.
We'll talk about a power player. We'll start off with Jason Hurd, strong right-hander, 24 years old. Opening shot.
Well, solid 10 for Hurd. 6-pin went around the bottom of the 10.
So Jeff Lizzi won back in 1992, his lone victory. It's been a while for this kid out of Sandusky, Ohio. Shot 247 to win over at Little Monticelli. Another power shot, and Lizzi with a strike.
And Lizzi made that big move last night, late in the last game. Needed a double to make the show, and boy, really came through, made great shots.
Hurd going at the 10-pin.
No problem for Big Jason. Takes care of the 10.
Steve Wilson looking for his 3rd title. The other 2 came back in 1996. Japan Cup, his very first win, Grand Prairie, Texas.
And a much straighter trajectory down the lane.
Well, you call it, Marshall. Moved way outside. Just the 10-pin.
Doesn't hook the ball as much as the other 2 competitors. Relies more on accuracy. This man right here, Jason Hurd, he is the quintessential power player. Big, strong man.
Won last year with Johnny Petraglia. National senior doubles.
And taking advantage of his strength. When Hurd can get his ball to come in light, boy, it's just dynamic the way it knocks all of his down.
Wilson, no problem with the 10-pin spare. Now into the 2nd frame. Hurd with a spare strike. Lizzi started off the match with a strike, and Wilson with a spare.
Opportunity to take an early lead for Lizzi, and he's got to be nervous. It's been quite a few years since he's made a telecast. Going for a double. Oh, well, just a little bit of good luck for Lizzi. Very fortunate as he crossed over. Take a look. Ball left of the head pin, and 10-pin the last one to go. Let's just call it like it is. That was lucky.
Wilson with 12 regional titles.
off into the channel, Phil. Ball riding the rail all the way down, leads the 1-2-4-10. Needs to get the ball to the left-hand side of the head pin and knock it over into the 10.
Too early to make some adjustments, Marshall? He's had some problems first 2 frames.
Well, I think the last shot was just a bad delivery. Too much to the head pin. Doesn't knock it over into the 10. It's an open frame.
There's a look at our scoreboard, and Jeff Lizzi starting off with a double. Hurd spare strike, trails by just 10, and Wilson down 25.
But Jason Hurd is the only man who's thrown 2 balls in the pocket the first 2 frames. So even though he trails by 10 to Lizzi, I still like his chances.
High game this week for Jason, 279. Low of 150, TV average 209. Oh, my! What a shot!
He starts the ball in so far to the left, swings it way out to the right, then brings it back in. Watch the 6-pin attack the 10-pin. Look at the intensity when he releases. Will the 10 fall? Oh, yeah. Everything going Lizzi's way so far. And always important, if you're fortunate enough to get a good break, boy, you've got to jump on it. You've got to take advantage.
Wilson now in the 3rd frame, trying to come back after that open frame.
Perfect shot, solid 8. Sometimes in this game, it doesn't matter what you do, something seems to stand, and the solid 8, the only true tap in the game. Lane condition today, 41 feet of oil, kind of a mid-range, not real short, not real long. Guys look real sharp in practice today.
So Wilson picks up the spare, but right now, Jeff Lizzi with 3 in a row. He's the early leader. The Promoters Tour on ESPN is brought to you by Brunswick. Get the power of proactive, only from Brunswick. Well, Parker Bohn, the 3rd, 23 career national titles, player of the year, finished 15th this week.
Had a credible week. It seems like only last week I was tied with him in career titles. It was last week. He's a great player, and what a gentleman. People here love him.
Jason, week's average at 223 plus. Boy, Jason looks awfully strong, even though he trails in this match, Marshall.
Well, he left a solid 10 in the first frame. There's been strikes for the next 2, and you're right, making great shots. Well, the 2, 8, and 10 ball never did recover. I thought it was going to hook back, but it didn't. As you see Lizzi getting up in the 4th frame, and he just came off that crossover strike, Phil. Must make an adjustment. Project the ball further down the lane. Well, he did make the adjustment, but too much of one, as now he leaves the 1, 2, 4, and 10. And
so right now, Steve Wilson, he's right back in the match.
Yeah, that's the best thing that could happen to Steve. Just going for the count.
Lizzi, you can make this.
Left of the head pin, but he just double dribbled the ball off his hand. Lost a lot of count. The big hook as Jason Hurd goes for the count on the 2, 8, 10. Jeff Lizzi made 2 mistakes that last frame, both in the first ball and then only getting 1 on the second.
Well, Steve Wilson now up in the 4th frame. Spare, open, spare. There's the strike.
And only trailing by 15 pins now. Wilson right back in the match.
Hurd, spare, double, then that open in the 4th frame. He trails by 5. Jeff Lizzi on top. Steve Wilson, though, with another strike in the 5th, can cut it to 5. So we got quite a match here.
Now Hurd able to get that one back up the pocket. You know, he's got to be kicking himself for that last frame.
Now Jeff Lizzi up in the 5th. He's had 2 strikes on this leg.
And Phil, I think he just should stay on that lane. No problem on 22, but boy, on lane 21, Lizzi's been left of the head pin and then flagged it to the right in the previous frame.
Wilson threw a nice shot in the 3rd frame.
Well, he left a solid 8. Believe me, just trying to repeat what he did in the 3rd.
There's a double.
And he did. Same place he left a solid 8. This time, all 10 pins respond.
You had mentioned with Jason Hurd, better for Jason to hit the pocket light. As you see the scoreboard, Hurd and Wilson down by 5, Lizzi the leader. But you said better for him to hit the pocket light.
Well, anytime you can throw that many revolutions on the ball and make it hook that strongly into the pocket, your light hit is a higher percentage carry. 2-8-10 previously on lane 22, working on a strike. And I really think that when Hurd makes an adjustment, he makes it by putting more onto the ball. He goes from 100% to 105, which it really gets a lot of roll.
Lizzi now with a strike, working on a strike up in the 6th frame.
Tough lane. That's what he's looking for.
Made the adjustment, Marshall.
Well, he made a good shot.
Wilson up in the 6th, got a tight match. Right now, Lizzi up by 5 over Hurd, and Wilson now with a strike, also down just 5. There it is. Steve Wilson, everyone's in this opening match. It's Wilson, Hurd, Lizzi battling it out here in the Parker Bohn III Empire State Open. We've got a dandy of a match going here. All 3 players certainly in it, all working on doubles. Wilson on a 3-bagger.
And Hurd up here in the 7th frame. Opportunity to make that 5-pin deficit, 5-pin lead, if he can strike.
Hurd brings it back and kicks out the 10-pin. Wow, what a power shot. Marshall, you were competing on tour when he was just born, I believe.
Take a look at this 6-pin. It just fires into the 10. And that ball came from way from the right.
The 24-year-old power player, Jason Hurd, coming on strong. Lizzi.
Uh-oh. Again, 1, 2, 8, 10. You take a look at Kathy Dora, Jeff's fiance, and not just a PWBA Tour member, but a champion on that tour. That's tougher on her than it is on Jeff right now because all she can do is sit and watch.
Wilson up in the 7th.
Little extra speed. Ball comes in just a little light in the pocket. It's a 7-10.
Yeah, right players, both of them opening the door now for Jason Hurd.
Going at it, a little different angle. Last time he used his spare ball to try and make that. He double dribbled it. This time he went with the strike ball. There's Sherry Wilson reacting to the split. Her husband, Steve, almost makes it. Didn't quite bang off the pin cushion. And, well, it's an open frame, Sherry.
Hurd now in the 8th frame, 3 in a row. Boy, what great crowds all week long here at the Bowlers Club. Just a great tournament.
People in Albany, in the Latham area, they really do support the tour. They love it.
Very first tournament, 1959 in Albany. You know who won?
Wrong foot Lou Campy.
Very good.
That's the right foot. A power strike from the power player, Jason Hurd. Absolutely no respect for the 3-pound, 10-ounce Brunswick Pro pins. Watch the head pin bird dog over there and just kill the 10.
Lizzi down in this match up in the 8th frame. Lizzi brings it back, sets it in, and a shot clock violation. Jason Hurd. What does that mean, and what happens next time?
Well, I believe the first one's a warning. If it happens again, he's going to be fined, and I'm sure he'll hurry it up a little bit. But Steve Wilson's made nothing but good shots. Solid 8, swishing 7-10. Boy, he's got a fine line into the pocket. Has not been very lucky at all.
Taking a look at the scoreboard. Jason Hurd on top by 19 over Jeff Lizzi. Wilson trails by 34. Hurd up in the 9th.
See if Hurd can release the ball or start his approach before the shot clock goes off.
Sets it right in there. Marshall, what kind of effect does it have on you as a player?
Well, it just gets you going a little quicker. I mean, you cannot take too much time. It's a rule. It must be followed. They understand it, and they'll get right into your pocketbook, right in the money area if you don't throw it fast enough.
That'll make you move a little faster.
Oh, yeah.
Lizzi in the 9th.
Almost a must strike. Great shot from Lizzi. You know, Jeff spoiled a great game this first match, but had a couple of errant shots that have really cost him.
Wilson, you talked about, he has bowled really a pretty solid game.
Possible 221 for Wilson. Leads his strike in tonight. Takes care of it. Yesterday, Steve and Sherry celebrated daughter Sarah's first birthday right here at Bowlers Club.
After 9, Hurd on top. Lizzi down by 19, and Wilson trails by 34.
Hurd needs a strike and 6 pins to shut his other 2 competitors out. Almost a 7-10. It's just a 10 pin. Now Lizzi finishing on his tougher lane.
In the 10th frame, Jeff Lizzi working on a double.
He can strike out for 236. The best Hurd can do is 234. And there's the swishing 7-10 on the same lane that Steve Wilson left it on. My gosh, watch the 5-pin go behind the 7.
Taking out the 10-pin, Jason Hurd. What happens on that 7-10, Marshall? Looks like a perfect shot.
Jason Hurd's going to be your winner. On the 7-10, the 5-pin goes behind the 7, and it's basically a half 10. The 6-pin lays in the channel. Tough way to finish for Jeff Lizzi.
So Lizzi finishes with a 202.
And there were a lot of 7-10s this week in the pocket. The 2 gentlemen that left them, they're going home.
And Hurd is winner in the opening match. So Jason Hurd fires a 232. Hurd moves on to the second match, taking on Rick Steelsmith and Brian Voss. Welcome back to the Bowlers Club in Latham, New York. The Parker Bohn III Empire State Open. Hi, everyone. I'm Phil Ferguson, along with my broadcast partner, Marshall Holman. Marshall, that opening match, Jason Hurd, 232. However, all 3 players bowled pretty well.
Well, they did, Phil. You know what hurt the other 2 players, Wilson and Lizzi, were the 7-10 splits that they left. And Hurd, the only one not to leave one, he's your winner.
Jeff Lizzi with a 202 and also a 198 from Steve Wilson. Now we come up to match 2, and I'll tell you what, a couple of veterans know how to win upcoming.
Well, we got some Hall of Famers coming up. We've got Brian Voss in this match, who's a 20-time PBA champion. It's going to be very, very difficult to beat. And then in the next match, we have Pete Weber, another very, very tough player, fiery player, guy who hasn't made a lot of telecasts of late and is certainly hungry. And, of course, then Brian Himmler, he's the tournament leader. He's won a tournament last year, but he's never been the tournament leader. He has to sit around and wait to see if he can handle the pressure. I think he can do it today. Phil, back up to you.
Thanks a lot, Marshall. We're set for another exciting match. Brian Voss, Rick Steelsmith, Jason Hurd. Hurd with that 232 to move on. Boy, the crowd's getting into it. Voss 41 years old, out of Atlanta, Georgia. He has won 20 national titles. Talk about style. Watch this player. Beautiful shot and a strike for Voss. Now Rick Steelsmith out of Wichita, Kansas. Also up here in the booth, Parker Bohn the third. Parker, terrific week last week, and you also had to get ready for this tournament. Boy, a couple of great weeks.
It's been really good so far, that's for sure.
Steelsmith with a strike. Last year, player of the year. Something you've always wanted. Certainly every player, I think, wants to be player of the year. You did it last year. Now maybe back-to-back.
Well, it was definitely a dream come true last year, you know, and well, we're off to a good start this year. We're just going to try to see if we can't do it again.
All right, Parker, maybe you give us a little analysis on the big guy right here, Jason Hurd.
Big guy. He's not afraid to let it go, is he? Good quality shot right there. 10 in the pit.
Boy, he just literally straps on it. Just uses that strong body to put a lot of roll on it.
He does use his body, gets it right behind it, and well, he lets his ball do the talking, that's for sure.
All three players with strikes in the opening frame. Boy, Voss has bowled so well for such a long time.
I'll tell you what, Brian had a little injury last year with his wrist, but he's been bowling really good the last couple of weeks. I really look for him to be a real force here in the next couple of weeks.
And Voss certainly has been disappointed. He's been close to making the telecast over the last 4 or 5 tournaments. Finally broke through this week. Big relief, big load off his mind as Steelsmith going for a double.
Marshall, what happened on that shot?
Well, left lane hooks more than the right-hand lane. Just did not project the ball far enough down the lane. Ball went right through the nose. Unfortunate just to leave the 6 and the 10.
Jason Hurd looks very confident after that opening win. Second frame. Got it out.
He's getting confident more and more each shot.
Almost left the solid 9.
Steelsmith up last night with the flu, and that's tough. Make him show and try to perform, but he has had a great week. In fact, I believe Steelsmith finished second here last year to a guy that's sitting right next to me. Is that right, Parker?
Well, fortunately for me, he finished second. I'll tell you, you know, he just come to this place. This is the second year in a row we've been here, and he just matches up perfectly and figures out a way to knock 10 pins over.
Voss and Hurd on top. Steelsmith down by 10. Got it out, and it came back.
Voss looking to take advantage of his first telecast of the year 2000. Been so close, you can see that shot. High flush, and does he like it, Parker?
I think he loves it, Marshall.
Yeah.
Steelsmith, part of the 1987 Wichita State bowling team, national champs. Also on that team, PBA player Justin Romick. Right back.
Good quality shot there.
Parker finished 15th this week, is that right?
Yeah, 15th this week. We had a little bit of a yo-yo round in the finals there. We were up and down a little bit, but never quite figured out what I needed to do to get out where these guys are today.
Hurd in the third. Oh, my.
He's getting more and more confidence, and we're seeing the players moving further and further left on the lane. You can see Voss and Hurd perfect. Steelsmith has that spare in the second frame. He trails by 20.
Parker, you certainly worked very hard in bringing this tournament back to this area. This is the second year here at the Bowlers Club. Congratulations. What a great turnout this week.
This has been outstanding. I'll tell you what, the city area of Albany, the Capital District, they know the sport of bowling, and they definitely know the professional bowling. So they supported the event fully.
Demonstrative strike from Brian Voss. Well, you'd think that Brian was a 24-year-old and Jason was nearer to 40.
You had mentioned Steelsmith certainly loves it here at Bowlers Club, finishing second to Parker. Of course, Parker won a few times last year, I believe 5. Steelsmith crosses it over and gets it to go.
Well, he's lost in that left-hand lane through the nose and then Even further left, but got the wrong side here. But hey, he's going to take it. Listen, I got the flu. I don't feel that good. Give me a break.
Hurd trying to make it the first 4 here in match 2.
Uh-oh. 3-6-10. Ball checked up early. And that's what the players have to be concerned with, is the front of the lane dries out very, very quick, and they have to keep making those moves. I know even on the left side with less players, you were still moving a lot in this particular center.
Yeah, we really do move a lot in this center. I think obviously right now the advantage goes to Brian, though, because Brian's playing out where there's less traffic. His moves are going to be minimal compared to the guys playing in.
And he leaves the soft 10. Not an easy spare for Hurd. Probably 75–80%.
100%.
or for that frame it was 100%, but I know in the years of bowling, the 3-6-10, that was very easy spare to miss.
Voss up by 13 over Hurd, 20 in front of Steelsmith. Picks up the spare, and Parker certainly want to thank you for spending some time, and good luck this year.
Well, thank you, Phil. We're going to try to continue and go on forward next week.
First player last week, you came from the 8th seed to win a tournament. First player to do that. That was grueling, huh?
That was exciting.
Steelsmith up in the 5th.
Just a 4-7. Certainly could have been a lot worse. Very, very fortunate to only leave 2 pins. 6 and the 10 fell very late. Hurd trying to get back on track.
And he gets it to go. Jason Hurd comes right back, gets a strike. And Steelsmith picks it up once again, thanks to Parker Bohn III. Last year's Player of the Year for joining us here. The leader, Brian Voss. And right now, Brian Voss sailing along.
Well, Voss with 4 strikes in a row, then that 10 pin. 10th place, the best he's been up to this week. Looking for a strike in the 6th. A little slow with the speed, leaves the 4 and the 10, and lets the other 2 players in. He's putting 2 fingers up as if he should throw 2 balls out. He was doing that, throwing little trick shots for the spectators earlier in the day, but I don't think that's going to be Kurt von Kruger's ruling to let him do that.
Steelsmith in the 6th.
Well, he moved way on that lane and still came in high.
Can you pick this up, Marshall?
Well, needs to get the left. Well, not like that you can.
That was not even close.
That's what I was going to say, Brian.
So Jason Hurd sitting down, and of course last week Parker Bohn won 4 matches to win the title. Very difficult to do it. Jason Hurd won match 1, and
he's in the driver's seat match 2 as Rick Steelsmith makes the 3-6-10. Hurd only up by 1 pin right now, but working on a strike to make it 11. Remember, he came in high last time on lane 22 and left this 3-6-10.
brings it back, and
great adjustment for Hurd. Bowler's constantly moving. Solid strike for Hurd.
All right, the final 4 frames of this match. Hurd up by 11 over Voss. Steelsmith down 22.
That's what Voss is looking for. You know, you would think with his straighter trajectory, he's playing kind of like Wilson was last game, but with the straight trajectory and his years of experience, he had to like his chances this game, but still finds himself trailing.
Brings it back, and still looks like he moved left, Marshall. Still
Move further left. 4, 6, 7, 8, 10. You can see his ball rolling over on the 24 board at the arrows. Right through the heart. And the big split.
Hurd working on a double.
Well, he liked it. Oh, the bird dog right in front of the 10 pin. Steelsmith makes 4 out of the 5. It's an open frame for Rick, and it's just his energy level is certainly depleted.
Once again, suffering from the flu as Hurd picks up that 10-pin spare.
We'll take a look and see how close Steelsmith was to making that split. Almost got it.
Voss in the 8th frame.
Chew into that lead with a strike.
Boy, he gets energized, and
well, he wants it so much right now. It's the weeks of frustration. The last 4 or 5 weeks have really been just driving Voss nuts. Finally, he breaks through, makes a telecast. He wants to take it all the way home.
Steelsmith again searching. The 97 Sportsmanship Award winner having some problems.
Yeah, we certainly just, he's lost his form right now. Just can't get the ball to the pocket on either lane. And I really think that being up late last night, not feeling well, taking its toll.
Brings it back.
Jason Hurd's feeling all right.
Looks like it's Hurd and Voss, Marshall.
Steelsmith for the 2-5. He makes the spare. But you're right, Phil. Right now, it's really a battle between Voss and Hurd. Tied to the pin. And if they both strike out, 256. Steelsmith, the best he can do right now, I believe, is 209.
Voss has won 20 national titles. Ninth frame.
To keep the pressure on Hurd.
Well, you throw shots like that, you get the crowd behind you, Marshall.
He had the crowd behind him before he started. He was working them in practice.
Steelsmith still fighting, and the strike.
Well, I know that Kayla and Kyle and Rick's wife, Roxanne, are watching back in Wichita and feeling for him right now. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to win. As Hurd with a strike to tie Voss. What a confident shot from Jason Hurd in the 9th frame. You know, he tells me that he gets nervous, but you know, he's not quite like Voss as far as being flamboyant, but the confidence, unbelievable.
So it comes down to the 10th frame. Hurd and Voss tied.
Not quite the release Voss was looking for. The ball delayed down the lane, didn't make its break soon enough. Too sharp of an angle, and it was a flat 10.
So the game is in Hurd's hands. Steelsmith can shoot 209.
And it's a 2-pin. You see the 6-pin just laying in the channel. That was Brian Voss' first shot in the 10th. Now he makes the spare. Right now, very important, Phil, for him to throw a strike here. That would force Jason Hurd to get the first strike in the 10th. And still a very good possibility for a tie.
Steelsmith, a tough afternoon. Voss can shoot 235. made.
Well, 234 for Voss. And for Steelsmith, his final shot.
188 for Steelsmith. And now Jason Hurd. What's he need, Marshall?
Well, he needs fill of 19. So if he gets 9 spare strike, that'd be the win. But I guarantee you right now, what he wants is to strike right here. That'll make it easy. Will it get back? Oh, yeah. Jason Hurd. He's won the first 2 matches.
Boy, he looks awfully strong, Marshall. Throwing the ball very well. And
well, he still needs 5 pins to win. You know, stranger things have happened. However, I'm going to go out on a limb, if a very sturdy limb, and say he's going to get it.
What's he going to do? Is he going to throw that strike ball? Or
I think he'll continue to throw the strike shot. There goes the power. Here she comes, and bang! All down for Hurd.
boy, Jason Hurd now moves on. He has won 2 matches. Hurd defeats Rick Steelsmith and Brian Voss. Coming up next, Marshall Holman with today's Score More with Brunswick Tip. And back here in Latham, Jason Hurd moves on, 256. Brian Voss, 234. Rick Steelsmith, 188. Now, Marshall Holman Score More with Brunswick Tip.
Today I'd like to talk to you about one of the oddities in bowling, and it concerns making splits. And we've set up a rack of pins to my right here. As you can see, the 3 and the 8 and the 10 are in white. Now there's a pin in between the 310 and there's a pin in between the 810. So they're the same distance apart. However, one is very simple to make and the other difficult. As you can see with the 310, all you need to do is get the ball to the right of the 3 pin and the ball will bounce into the 10 pin. Not that tough a split to make. Now the 8 and the 10, the same distance apart, however extraordinarily difficult because they're parallel. The only way to make it is to hit the 10 pin or the 8 pin, bounce it off the pin cushion, and then into the other pin. 310 simple, 810 virtually impossible.
All right, thanks, Marshall. Coming up next Sunday, the PBA heads to Southwick Lanes in Toledo for the first major, the PBA National Championship at Southwick Lanes. And the following Sunday, 12:30 start, the PBA Tour concludes its winter tour in Akron with the prestigious Bayer Brunswick Touring Players Championship at Freddie Bourne's place, Stonehenge Family Fun Center. A couple of big weeks coming up. Coming up, our semifinal match. Jason Hurd taking on Pete Weber and Ryan Shafer. Back with that in a minute. Marshall, you had mentioned about Jason Hurd before we even came on the telecast. You said, hey, don't be surprised if this guy goes out and performs very well and perhaps makes it to the title match. Here he is, a match away, a win away.
Well, he's very cool as we see Pete Weber starting on lane 21. Weber kicks out the 10, leaves the 7. And I'm surprised. I would have thought that Pete would have been playing further left in the lane. More a la Jason Hurd.
Ryan Shafer, he has been on fire. Won a couple of weeks ago.
He's playing the lanes the same way that Jason Hurd is. However, did not get the leverage to get the ball back up to the pocket as he leaves the 2 and the 8. Weber hard straight at the 7 pin.
Picks it up.
Well,
not
really
an easy spare for Ryan.
No, the 2-8 must make sure the ball takes the 2 pin and then continues through to get the 8. He'll hook at this. Very good conversion. You wouldn't think it'd be getting any easier for Jason Hurd as he's bowling against Ryan Shafer, who won a tournament earlier this year, and the great Pete Weber, 24-time titleist.
Jason with the best finish so far, 4th. First shot. Oh, yeah, he hasn't lost anything.
Well, just getting more comfortable with each shot that he throws.
Weber with 24 titles, however, never a PBA Player of the Year.
And Pete puts up one finger as if to say, that's one. There's the start. Gritty competitor, as is Ryan Shafer.
Shafer lost the final game to finish in the number 2 spot. Lost it to Brian Himmler, our top seed.
4-pin, just the last one to fall. The 10 stays up. Boy, very fortunate. Watch the 4. Well, you have to have some luck out here, Phil. This guy's had a lot of skill. 7-pin, the last to fall. The 10 stands. Would be no better than a spare in the second for Jason Hurd.
Shafer goes at the 10-pin.
Well, he makes it. He didn't catch much of it, but that'll work.
Hurd also firing at the 10-pin. You had mentioned before last couple of telecasts with Ryan Shafer that his knock early on was picking up spares, but he's really come on and, of course, won a title a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he's become a very good all-around player, dominant player from week to week. For the lead. You see Weber kind of calm right now. If he keeps throwing strikes, he'll be coming out of his shoes very shortly.
Shafer, the Tour's leading money winner this year, 3rd frame, working on 2 spares.
Now he goes from leaving the 2-8 to the 4-pin. Light in the 1st frame, a tad high in the 3rd. Still sort of feeling the lanes out. This man's not doing any feeling out of the lanes right now. He's locked in. You know, you live by the power and sometimes you die by it. Solid 9. Ball just having no respect for the pins, driving straight through them. A high flush hit, but only 9.
Shafer trying to convert yet another spare. That's 3 in a row, but that's 3 spares for Shafer. Pete Weber with a spare to double, the early leader, and Jason Hurd a strike. And now 2 spares.
Well, as you can see, Shafer down by 12. Hurd 11 pins down to the great Pete Weber, and Pete Weber's up, looking to make it 22 and 21 respectively.
Weber, a couple of years ago, became just the 2nd player to eclipse the $2 million mark. Career earnings, the other, Walter Ray Williams. Slow speed.
Oh, he loved that one. You can read his lips, he's saying, that's it.
Weber with 3 in a row.
Shafer wearing the same shirt that he won in Las Vegas. It's not superstitious.
Brings it around.
Will the 2-pin fall? No, it stands up. Tried to roll that too, but not able to.
And Hurd trying to get back in it with a strike.
Well, last week, Hurd, the number 3 seed, finished 4th. He's looking for something better here in Albany.
You talk about that green shirt for Shafer. Jason Couch talked him into wearing that green shirt a couple of weeks ago. Said, hey, you'll win with it. That's Jason's favorite color, and he did. Picks up the spare. So, hey, if you're going to be on television.
Well, it has to be the shirt. No doubt about it.
What were some of your superstitions?
Oh, we don't, it's only an hour-and-a-half show, Phil. Really, not enough time, but thanks.
So Weber, spare and 3 in a row. Up by 21 over Hurd, 23 in front of Shafer.
He's getting locked in. Look at the confidence. Look at that look of confidence. But can he maintain it?
Shafer, 4 straight spares.
Shafer made a big move on the lane. He went way to the right. Changed zones completely. Didn't work. 3-6-10. You've got to try something out here. Shafer went for a bold move. Didn't pan out. Now a solid 10 for Jason Hurd. Excuse me, Phil.
Certainly could have used that double because you don't want to get too far back of Pete Weber.
No. Weber having it his way so far. Shafer for the spare.
Well, with Shafer, what do you do now? I mean, move back. Evidently that didn't work.
We'll have to wait and see.
Jason Hurd picks up the spare, but it is Pete Weber on top by 36 over Shafer. 31 in front of Hurd.
Well, welcome back to the Bowlers Club, Latham, New York. We take a look at Jason Hurd. Kind of a medium backswing, powerful release. And Ryan Shafer, short backswing, really rips through the holes. And then Pete Weber, watch how high this is. And 135 pounds, 5'7", the man with the high backswing can really intimidate the opposition. And he's doing it right now, Phil.
4 in a row for Pete Weber after a spare in the opening frame. Weber in control and second career money list to Walter Ray. Mike Albee on the list. Parker Closey on 4.
Look out. There's the break right there. 3-pin falls out of the 4-7.
Big break for Pete Weber.
And he just got slow on that shot. Boy, that was fortunate.
See if that'll rejuvenate the other two bowlers.
Going for his first strike of the game. There it is. Weber makes the spare. We had a brief look at Ryan Shafer's father.
So Jason Hurd now up in the 6th frame. He's gone strike, spare, spare, strike, spare. He's really thrown a lot of great shots this afternoon.
Nothing standing on that one, Phil.
Weber up in the 7th frame. 24 national titles, 29 regional titles, Hall of Fame, voted in 1998.
Better speed. Solid 10, but you could see off his hand, the ball was projected better down the lane. Didn't get slow. To chop into that Weber lead. Shafer in the 7th.
Can cut it to 23. And does just that.
Now he's found something, and it's not too late. Great spare shooter, no problem for Weber. Shafer moved back inside and high flushed it in the pocket. Is he excited? He wants to win again.
Well, he moved a little bit to the right on the one shot, Aaron shot, and then moved back, like you said, Marshall, and has a double as Jason Hurd looking for a double.
Boy, it's tough coming from that bottom position for Hurd.
Shaking his head. Check out the PBA Tour's website this week to vote for your favorite TV format. You can also get Pro-Am and special event information for the PBA National Championship. Find out which TV celebrity is scheduled to participate in a charity fundraiser as Weber gets a strike. And that charity fundraiser at the Bayer Brunswick Touring Players Championship. Check it out, PBAtour.com. Jason Hurd picking up the spare. That ball was hooking.
Oh, you know, most guys like to throw the ball hard and straight at spares. Jason, he likes to watch his ball hook. He even hooks it at the spares.
Well, key shot here for Ryan Shafer in the 8th.
Could knock it down to a 13-pin lead. And Ryan Shafer is a different player than he was just a few weeks ago. He's now a champion, and he knows how to win.
8th frame.
started late, but he's getting hot right when he needs it. You know, Shafer doesn't live that far from here in Elmira, New York. So a lot of fans here rooting for him.
Hurd in the 8th frame. Really has to get striking.
229, the best that Hurd can do.
Hurd, a big strike. Not out of it yet, but it is Pete Weber on top by 13 over Shafer. Hurd trails by 28. Bowlers up in the 9th. Some heat now on Weber.
Yeah, strike here should do it for him. Will it hold? Boy, that ball was left off his hand, and you can see it put his hands over his face. He just got away with murder.
Shafer trying to make it 4 in a row. Still hanging in the match.
Got to hurry. There's that, well, almost a 7-10. 7 falls out. Weber's ball goes right past the 9. He thought he was going to leave a 9-pin, and look at this reaction. Oh my gosh, what did I get away with? They're not all bad breaks, Pete. It's looking more and more like Pete Weber will be making his way to the title match, but we still have 1 frame left to go.
Shafer picking up that spare. Possible 223 for Shafer.
The best Hurd can do is 209, and Weber right now working at a 237 pace.
So coming down to the 10th frame, and Pete Weber knows what he has to do here. Get a mark in the 10th frame and move on. Shafer down by 24, and Hurd trails by 38.
Another bad shot from Weber, but that's enough. If he were to miss this, it would give him 224.
Right.
So he is your winner.
He knew he needed 9. He got 9. And Shafer really came on strong towards the end of the match, but not enough.
It just ran out of time. And right now, if I'm Brian Himmler, I'm watching what Weber's done the last couple of frames. As he's pointing to Himmler right now, he said, listen, I want you. But Himmler knows that Weber's had trouble in the last couple of frames.
Weber pointing to Himmler. Come on, bring it on, and we'll have it here. It's going to be Pete Weber moving on to the title match. Great game, really, by Ryan Shafer. Started off with 5 spares. Showed me something. He moved, wasn't there, went back, and almost put it together to be Weber. Not enough. As Weber with a 236. And Pete Weber in the championship match, looking for his 25th career title. That'll be 1 shy of his dad, Dick Weber. It's Weber and Himmler in a minute. We're at the Bowlers Club in Latham, New York. Match 1, Jason Hurd, a winner. Match 2, Jason Hurd, a winner. Match 3, it's Pete Weber with that big 236 game. Moves on to take on Brian Himmler for the title.
All right, Phil, let's take a look at some other finishers. Steve Jarros bowled the high block last night, but started out just too far back. Chris Barnes still nursing that bad toe. Had another good week in 11th. Monticelli was up there, but he struggled as well. There's the namesake, Parker Bohn. It's his tournament. He was 15th. John May, 2nd place last week. Jason Couch. Mika Koivuniemi from Finland. And Brian Smith, he came in as the alternate. He finished 24th.
All right, we're set for the championship match. Marshall, Brian Himmler looked pretty good. Pete Weber, last couple of frames, struggled.
Well, he did. Himmler, I watched him practicing, looked very strong, but Pete Weber has a way of just willing the pins down. Trips the 4-pin, and really, he's going for a little bit of a milestone from 24 to 25 titles. This young man right here going for his 2nd.
Himmler out of Cincinnati. Brings it back and doesn't trip the 4-pin.
Now Himmler leaves the 4-pin. You think Himmler is happy about Griffey coming to Cincinnati. A lot happier than he is about this ball leaving the 4-pin. Just going to creep in a touch high. You'll see the 4-pin doesn't get tripped out. Wiggles just a touch.
Himmler picks up the spare. So second frame. Yeah, getting Griffey kind of lessens the pain being a Bengals fan. You know?
I should say.
Himmler now in the second frame. Boy, he has bowled very well here on the winter tour. Only win, though, last year in Albuquerque.
This is the first time he's been the tournament leader. He's been waiting around for quite a while. Same shot that Weber had. He trips the 4-pin. You wouldn't think either one of these players would be tripping 4s. They'd be swishing racks. High on the head pin, but the 2-pin goes to the sideboard, trips out the 4.
Weber, you mentioned his 24 titles, trying to get to 25. His dad, legendary Dick Weber, with 26.
Oh, yeah. Sweet as he could throw it there. And Weber has moved left on the lane. Mentioned earlier, with all the power players that are bowling today, they're taking the oil off the front of the lane, sending it back down to the back end. The back ends are getting a little tighter. Got to keep looking for fresh oil in the first 15 feet of the lane.
Weber looking for 3 in a row to start the championship match.
Short off his hand, did not project the ball to the right. 3-6-10 for Weber. Ball goes through the heart. Weber knows it was a bad shot, just did not get the ball to the right. That's right. That's the right. And Pete Weber, the great spare shooter that he is, misses a 3-6-10. I'm surprised he went with his strike ball, Phil. Would have thought he would have gone with a spare ball, gone hard and straight at it. That is errant shot from Weber.
So Himmler now, after Weber with an open in the third, Himmler trying to make it 2 in a row. Comes right back, so Weber left a crack in the door, left it open just a bit, and Himmler now with the lead by 17.
Well, Himmler went from being behind to being a 7-pin leader just by sitting on the bench with that open frame from Weber. And then with a double, he increases it. Now looking to go up to 27. Brad Himmler's father, Brad.
Himmler up now in the 4th frame.
Very emotional player, but he's keeping himself in check early. Look out. Wow. The 2-pin is a bonus there, Phil. That ball was in right field. That ball came from nowhere. Watch how far to the right. Look at it's on the 1 board. It looks like it's going into the channel.
Looked like a split here.
10-pin fortunately falls out. 8-pin falls out. It's just the 2.
He'll take that.
It's as if he left a solid 10. No harm.
He's switching balls.
He'll throw a bullet.
Most of the players do that nowadays, don't they?
Yeah, and once again, very surprised that Weber opting for the strike ball for the 3-6-10.
Weber on and open now in the 4th frame.
He blows a little air into the thumb hole, gives him a better feel of the ball.
Weber trying to cut into that lead.
9th pin, the last pin that falls. The ball crept in high, but it's a strike. Weber can make it a 6-pin lead if he strikes here on lane 21. Now, it wasn't the lane that broke down that made him leave the 3-6-10 in the last frame. It was his lack of projection to the right.
Weber up in the 5th. His wife Tracy watching at home. Daughters Nicole and Ashley Marie.
Slow speed.
Show your PBA loyalty by becoming a member of the PBA Fan Club. Fan Club members receive quarterly newsletters, including the latest inside information on the PBA tours, tips and interviews with the pros, discounts on PBA merchandise, contests, a lot more. Membership $14.95, plus $3 shipping and handling, and that includes a PBA decal. If you'd like to join, call 440-1340.
And Weber went to the harder ball to go straight at the spare that time with a 3-6.
Well, he may look back at that third frame, Marshall, and cost him the title, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Himmler, fifth frame.
Oh, it's a 3-6-10 fest here. I think it's as much right now. The bowler's getting a little bit nervous as the lane's transitioning once again. They have to, with all the power that both these players have, they've got to let it go. They've got to trust their game. Billy Whaley said it back in the late 60s. Trust is a must, your game is a bust. Well, it still continues to be true here in the year 2000.
Himmler trying to pick up the spare. Throws it hard. No problem.
And no strike ball for Himmler on the 3-6-10. And I'm telling you, that's a really good tip for everyone watching. You don't need power to knock down spares. You need accuracy.
So you'd be very surprised if Brian threw it on the nose again here in this frame.
Well, yeah, I would think he's going to be making a move. The left lane does hook more than the right, significantly more. The problem with Himmler is he left that 2-pin last time on this lane, so we'll have to watch and see.
Himmler comes right back with the strike, the Chief, and Pete Weber going at it. Himmler leads by 13 in this title match. At the ESPYs, Pete Weber trying to get right back.
Better speed. He's got to keep the speed up, Bill. That's what's killed him, especially on that left-hand lane, leaving the 3-6-10 and the 3-6. The last two times he's bowled this lane, 21. I know he was talking with his ball rep in commercial.
Blowing in that thumb hole, there's Carol Judge, the proprietor here at the Bowlers Club, and just an outstanding week, outstanding tournament coming right down now to Weber and Himmler.
And that ball's still creeping up a little higher. It's driving past the 9-pin. I guarantee you the ball did not touch the 9-pin. But they're all down. It's only a 3-pin lead right now for Himmler.
So Himmler up. And Himmler was struggling midway through this tournament. Then a 6-game block of 279, 289, 231. Must have stumbled a little bit. 279, 289, 243.
Wow.
That is some bowling.
Will it get there? Oh, yeah. And here comes the emotion.
Back up to that 13-pin lead, Marshall. He got it out that time.
Himmler watching the ball drive back, and the 10-pin falls down. It's yes.
Himmler taking a little extra time up in the 8th frame.
You can see position by round. He took the lead in the 3rd round and then got it right back when he needed it. The final game. Left off his hand, no projection, solid 6. Could have been a lot worse, Phil.
Just the single pin standing.
No, Weber's watching that ball and he's going, he's not going to carry a Brooklyn, is he? At least that's what I'd have been thinking.
You never had anybody do that against you, Marshall. And picks up the spare.
The release of Brian Himmler, a high backswing. The ball was just never projected far enough to the right.
So Weber working on a double, trails by just 12, can cut into that lead down to 2 with a strike.
Oh yeah, here he comes. It's 2 pins right now. Ball driving back hard. This one takes care of the 9-pin. Lots of strength, pumped up. So Weber, he's got to be careful on this lane. Very easy to leave the solid 9. I think he needs to make another move to the left. Keep the speed up.
Pretty good shot.
Boy, he made the right adjustment. Solid 10, 6 around the bottom of the 10-pin. He's staring it down. I wouldn't want to be that 10-pin. You'll see it. The 6-pin, 3rd from the right, is going to race around the bottom of the 10, and Weber can't believe it.
Boy. So Weber, frustrated in the 9th frame, picks up the spare, Marshall, but coming right down to the 9th and 10th frame here.
Well, 3-pin lead right now for Brian Himmler. Weber with a possibility of a 222. Himmler can shoot 235. Himmler controls his own destiny.
In the 9th.
Himmler throws a strike here, a strike in the 10th frame. Good count. It's his tournament. Oh my gosh, it's light, and will the 10-pin fall? He made a big mistake in the 9th frame. Ball got off his hand too far to the right. Take a look as it gets toward the channel here, around 47 feet. Just not enough time to recover. Ball comes in behind the head pin. The 8-pin falls out, but the 2 and the 10, they stand. Now, Himmler's a good spare shooter. He'll throw it very hard with his straight ball, trying to get to the left-hand side of the 2-pin, knock it into the 10 to keep a 1-pin lead.
Well, that's an open in the 9th frame.
He just caught too much of the 2-pin, Phil.
Now a 10-pin lead for Pete Weber, just like that, Marshall.
And for Himmler, if he strikes out in the 10th frame, he can erase that 10-pin lead. He would shoot 212 and force Weber to double in the 10th frame to win, or to get a strike spare in the 10th frame to tie. So lots of possibilities still left, but Weber certainly in a much better position than he was just a minute ago.
Himmler has to regroup here in the 10th frame.
Basically the same shot he threw in the 9th frame, with the ball coming in light. The 2 and the 8 are knocked out, but a 10-pin stands and needs to keep his concentration, force Weber to show up in the 10th frame. Make this spare, and he'll do it.
Picks up that spare, and he can now shoot 202 of the strike. Pete Weber sitting down, waiting for his turn.
He's sitting down, but he's in motion. I tell you what, I know just how he feels. His
Want to get up and go.
oh yeah, you want to throw that shot right now, but he'll have to be patient.
It counts important here.
Very important.
Brings it back.
And the boy, 2, 4, 8, 10. The last 3 shots Himmler threw, light, and light. 198 for Himmler. If Weber gets 9 in the first ball.
Well, Marshall, his mindset a little bit different than just 10 seconds ago before Brian threw that ball.
Yeah.
Thinking of getting a spare now.
Well, he needs to make a quality shot. This has been his good lane. 9 pins to win.
Wow.
Hung on to the ball.
He missed this earlier, Marshall.
If he gets 9, we could have a tie.
A 3rd frame.
I guarantee you, he's got to be throwing a spare ball. He's not going to mess around with hooking it at this 3-6-10. I've had to make this to win a tournament. I got lucky and got it, but I wouldn't want to be in Weber's shoes right now.
To win, he gets it.
He made it. Boy, he made it tough on himself, but Weber makes the 3-6-10.
Pete Weber, the winner of the Parker Bohn III Empire State Open. Win number 25 for Pete. Your winner, Pete Weber, 209 to 198 over Brian Himmler. Up to my partner, Marshall Holman.
All right, now it's time to take a look back at today's key moment, the Ginkoba moment of concentration. And for Pete Weber, it was the spare shot in the 10th frame. He left the difficult 3-6-10. He concentrated, he steadied himself, he made it, and he won the tournament. That's today's Ginkoba moment of concentration. Think better, think Ginkoba. Back to you, Phil.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Marshall. A big win for Pete Weber. Win number 25, one step closer to your father, 126, Dick Weber. But what a great week for you, Pete.
It's been a great week all week long. Man, I bowled really good all week long. I stayed focused, and I'm just thrilled to death. I don't know what to say.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Bill.
Pete Weber, your winner of the 2000 Parker Bohn III Empire State Open. Please join us next week as the first duel in Pro Bowling's Triple Crown is up for grabs. The PBA Tour heads to Toledo for the National Championship. Coming up next on ESPN, ARCA Support, Daytona 200. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, Go.com. Your winner once again, Pete Weber.